social isolation,
Yes.
either due to moving or being moved into a more isolated community.
We also get in ruts. We get, those of us, particularly who are single, we get used to our way of doing things independently. If we want to have lunch at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and dinner at midnight, we can do that. If we want to go out in the afternoon but you don't want to drive at night, we can do that. We tend to do the self-imposed isolation. So one of the things I recommend to people is do one new thing every week. One totally new thing every week. Now, is that realistic that you'll actually get one new thing every week? No, but if that's on your to-do list, if it's on your calendar to each week, pick out something you might want to try. Now, for example, I love dancing. I teach contemporary line dancing. I do partner dancing. And I recently discovered contra dancing. It was one of the, on my list, trying one new thing. Contra dancing. Never tried it. I loved it. I'm going to do that again. Met a whole new set of people. But the point isn't just to meet new people. The point is to become the you, the full, enriched life you that you can be. And if you're doing things you really enjoy and you meet other people there, whether they're people who will become friends or activity partners or maybe even a date or a new love, you're still doing stuff you love. So if you don't meet somebody you want to follow up on, so what? You went home and said, hey, did I have a good time?
Perfect.
You also give off a different energy when you're fully enjoying your life. If you're isolated, if you're withdrawn, you tend to give off the impression that you're depressed. The energy comes across as blocked. And that's not appealing to other people. They're not going to seek you out if that's how you're coming across. So living your life out loud, living it fully, doing the things you enjoy, discovering new things you enjoy, although that may not seem to be a part of senior sex, it actually is. It makes you sexier.
Living a fully engaged life, and that's one of my phrases, I think it's on my Twitter profile, is living out loud. Living out loud. Because not only do you attract the sex that you want, the female, male, but you also attract friends who then introduce you to,
That's right,
to the guy, or perhaps, more guys. So having that light lit up inside of you is really what gets other folks attracted to you.
That's
and so
right.
I think that's really great advice. Let's pivot and talk a little bit more about married couples.
Good.
Do you write about there was recently a movie with Meryl Streep and was it Tommy Lee Jones, Hope Springs? Yes. So they were married for a long time, and things got a little ho-hum.
Yeah.
And are you talking about that challenge as well?
Oh, absolutely. I have several chapters in Naked at Our Age that address long-term relationships. Yeah. One is called, Is This My Marriage? and there's another one called Communicating About Sex, because often what happens is we stop communicating that let's say we were in a relationship that was so hot and wonderful to begin with. We couldn't keep our hands off each other. We had to be kissing every minute. We couldn't wait to get into bed again and again and again. And then as the years rolled by, it's partly the brain chemicals. We don't need to get into a whole lot of that, but the brain chemicals that induce attraction and lust are different from the brain chemicals that contribute to bonding. So once we're in the bonded stage of a relationship, unless we work really hard to keep the lust chemicals going, that can fade away, that can recede into the background. So I have lots of recommendations for how to keep sex spicy in a long-term relationship, how to talk about it if we stop talking about it, why it's really important to do that. So often, talking about women who are in heterosexual relationships, which is not the only kind of relationship I talk about, but in that kind of a relationship, often the man, if he is having erectile difficulties, undependability, or even erectile dysfunction, he tends to want to withdraw rather than talk to a partner about it. Sometimes you think, wait, what is he thinking? They'll say, well, we just won't have sex anymore, but she won't notice. And I won't bring it up on that annual physical that she makes me go to every year because it's too embarrassing. I wouldn't announce it at my class reunion. I'm not about to tell my doctor. Wrong, 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 wrong. Because erectile difficulties can be the first sign of a medical problem that needs to be addressed. It can be the first sign of heart disease, for example. And there are some examples in Naked at Our Age from both men and women where for the men erectile difficulties or for the women arousal difficulties, which is the same thing. Blood flow to the genitals is being stopped somehow in both men and women. And these people did not go to a doctor and they discovered it was heart problems. They had heart attacks. And they go, oh.
I should have spoken up about that.
Should have spoken up. Now, often the doctors don't know what to say to us when we're, say, 70, 75, 80. We go to our doctor and say, I'm having trouble getting aroused. And the doctor will often say, what? Well, yeah, you're old. Or we'll think that and say it in a kinder, more polite way. But we need to speak out loud. This is another part of talking out loud. We don't accept that. We say, wait a minute. I'm not done with my sexuality. At what age do you plan to retire your genitals, doctor? Is it at my age, or maybe 42 or 45, 55 and a half? When would that be? Well, I'm not ready yet, and if you can't help me, I need a referral to someone who can.
Perfect.
That's the way to educate doctors, that they need to learn more. Because, again, for them, the information is out there, too. I'm very pleased to be talking to my local chapter of a big HMO in a few months and would love to do that more, too.
The world needs more of this discussion.
That's right.
Being started.
That's right.
For both the end user and for the medical practitioner. And did I say end user?
Oh, well, yeah.
Well, you know what I mean, right?
I have a funny story I like to tell. I had, when Robert was alive, I had cataract surgery, and he came with me to the operation. And before the surgery, the nurse was talking to me, and she had this list of things to tell me about what to do afterwards. And she's reading from the list, and she leans in towards us and says, should we talk about sex? And I said, yeah, talk about sex. What do you mean? Should we talk about sex? Yeah, talk out loud about sex. The idea that she approached us that way to a couple that wasn't so self-revelatory, it might have clamped them down. They might have said, oh, shh, no. But yeah, we needed to know. We needed to know how long we needed to wait before it undid my cataract surgery if I increase the blood flow too much. I needed to know that.
But isn't this the attitude that we sort of give off from young childhood? That sex is this it's a little bit taboo. I mean, I was at the chimpanzee retirement home last weekend visiting these retired chimpanzees, and they were talking about some of the issues. And because they wanted to talk about chimpanzees and sex and how they brought in different groups, they wouldn't talk about sex because there are children there. We're not going to talk about that topic because there are children there. So that's what starts. Children are hearing this, don't talk about it. And we're all growing up with these issues of, do we talk about it? Do we not talk about it? And it shows up in our life throughout our entire lives until people like you come around and say, let's talk about it.
There's a television program that was willing to, and I'm not going to name it because that isn't fair right now, but this was a talk show, and they discussed often really important issues. For example, there was one show on transgender issues where they had people who knew as children that they were transgender, they were in the wrong body. But the host prefaced this show to saying, this will be a rather edgy show about transgender issues, so if you have children in the room, you might want to send them away. No! Who needs to hear this?
Right.
I mean, disconnect, right?
Right.
These people are talking about how they thought they were the only ones in the world with these feelings, and here we're being told, send children out of the room.
Yeah, it's definitely a mixed message. And I imagine that you're out there and yet you're living out loud, you're speaking out loud.
Yeah.
But do you ever get any pushback?
Yeah. I remember when Better Than I Ever Expected came out, realized this was my first senior sex book, and this was the important one where it was the first time that I talked out loud about my sexuality at that age. So I couldn't wait. There was going to be a magazine review of my book, and it was coming out the day before I was appearing at a bookstore to talk about it. I was like, yes, perfect timing. The magazine was supposed to come out at midnight of Saturday night before the Sunday I was speaking. Mm-hmm. I went to my local store to get the first issue of the magazine coming in by truck. I open it, and the first line is, now that boomers have discovered their sex after 60, could they please stop talking about it?
And do you ever talk about, which I think I already know the answer, since you're at Good Vibrations, you talk about solo sex, you talk about toys?
I do. On my blog, I have reviewed about 70 sex toys from a senior perspective. And you may say, well, what's the senior perspective? A sex toy is a sex toy is a sex toy. Not at our age. For example, can we read the instructions and the controls without our reading glasses? I mean, how sexy is this? Oh, hold on. I need to see where the on button is. Can you hold it for a really long time? If you have wrist arthritis, is it strong enough for those of us with a really slow arousal? Can it go long enough without running out of charge or catching fire or overheating? So, and also, size is an issue, and not the way it is for most sex toy reviewers. Most sex toy reviewers, bless them, are young and juicy, and they want the bigger the better. I don't want the bigger the better. And many of my readers have said, particularly those who are not in partnered relationships, I don't want something that is girthy. I want it slender, slim, because then I can really enjoy it. If it's big, it's painful. You know, this is really interesting how this changes over our lifespan. So for that reason, I really want to let my readers know when there's a hot, really strong toy that maybe is no more than 1.25 inches in diameter for penetration. I also want to review the clitoral vibrators where there is no penetration involved, because that's generally where we're going to get our orgasm. So there's so much. There's a whole lot of education involved in that, too.
Absolutely. This is something, I review, I love your attention to detail, because I review a lot of technology for aging in place. And I get the box in the mail, and I'm reviewing every single detail just like you are. So how does the box open? Do I need to get a chainsaw to open it up with all the plastic gadgets? Is there a manual inside? What size font? What type of font is the manual written in? All of these things matter, because this is not just going into anyone's hands. This is specifically for someone who is going to be using this large font cell phone or whatever it might be, large font computer. So every detail matters for ease of use, and then during use, how great is this going to be? So I love that you've thought it out, and you've written about this over at naked@ourage.com. I don't know, it's a mouthful, but that's the perfect name for a blog. So tell me this, on your blog, what's probably the most popular topic that folks really say have a lot of comments about?
I didn't know you were going to ask that one. Okay, I have part of my blog has a widget, I guess, that shows which of my blog posts over the last 6 years, which now in 2013, I've been doing it 6, maybe 7 years, which are most popular this week and which are most popular all time. The most popular are always these 2 lingerie shoots that I did. Now, I want to tell you why I did them before I tell you why I think they're popular because there I am in posing in lingerie. But the reason I did it, the first one I did when I was 66, I think. And it was because so many women come to me with body image problems. And they say, oh, I don't want to be naked because I don't want to make love with the lights on because. And the men are all saying, hey, we're visual. Let me look, please. I want to look. I'm not going to say, oh, gee, she looked better in clothes. No, I'm going to be saying, thank you. Love looking. So I decided, well, if I walk my talk, I'm going to do something I never did before. So I got a photographer to do the sort of boudoir shots or lingerie shots and put that up on my blog along with telling about what that experience was like to have this photographer take me from, oh, don't get my belly, don't get my thighs, don't get my butt, to having her make me feel so comfortable that I said, this is really fun. She told me what to imagine. She said, think about Robert, and he's coming home, and he's going to find you this way. And, all righty, I can think of that. So I did that when I was 66 and posted it and really had fun with it. And lots of people saw it and went to the top hits for my blog.
Nice.
And then 2 years later, Robert had died. I knew that grief had really changed me, changed my everything about it. I mean, it changes everything, and we can talk about that. But one of the things that changed is I knew it had aged me, and I didn't look like I did 2 years before. So I got the same photographer, said, can we do this again? Because I want to be authentic. And those photos don't feel authentic to me anymore. And I also want to reclaim my body. I'm not feeling good about it. I'm not feeling good about anything right now. Can you help me get that joy back? And she said, you got it. And I loved the second shoot. And when I looked at it later, I said, I look a lot better than I thought. But see, the point of that lingerie shoot wasn't to show off what I look like. It really wasn't. It was to say, I own this body. Now I'll say I am 69 years old. This is my body. It gives me pleasure. I own it. It's the body I have. It's the youngest I'll ever be from now on. And I want to celebrate all that. And I want to encourage other women to do that, to say, no. I don't have to be hiding in my flannel robe. I can get some lingerie that is flattering to me. I can really surprise my hubby or my next date or myself in the mirror. And I can do this too.
I love it. You must have been such an inspiration in these two blog posts to so many women out there. Were you getting a lot of feedback?
I do get a lot of feedback from women. I get an awful lot from men too. And I hear from younger men. They say, "Oh, what hot mama." Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's nice to hear, actually.
So tell
However,
me
I have to say, don't send me a photo of your penis, please, younger man.
Okay. We'll put that down below in the show notes to remind everyone. So tell me this, Joan.
If you want to.
Tell me what's next for you.
Well, I have just come out with a new book, Ageless Erotica.
Oh, hold it up so we can see. Ageless Erotica. Fabulous. Okay.
This was a gleam in my eye for years. I would read erotica that I couldn't relate to. Not that it was not good erotica. It was good. It was well written. It was very sexy, but it was all youthful. It was sopping wet panties. It was rock hard erections. It was instant arousal. It was 3-second orgasms that lasted 3 minutes. And I'm going, well, maybe. I don't quite remember that being true ever, but maybe it was, but it sure isn't now. Mm-hmm. So I said to myself, what would happen if writers over 50, 60, 70, 80 wrote steamy erotica featuring characters over 50, 60, 70, or 80. And made it realistic sex, but really hot. Can that be done? So I put out the call for submissions, and I am so proud to have this anthology with 29 writers over 50 writing their steamy stories and memoir essays about sex after 50, 60, 70, 80.
Fantastic.
It is so wonderful.
Good for you. So, Joan, I could sit here and talk to you forever. And
Can we do that?
I'm really, yes, I could. You have, I mean, that's just like the tip of the iceberg with your stories.
It is.
So, you have these stories everywhere. We know we could go to your books. Where else can people find you?
I am on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Do you want some of those, or are you going to just write those down?
You know what? I'll put the links for everyone down below. I'll spell them out perfectly so people can click through.
Fantastic. But basically, if you go to my website, joanprice.com or nakedatrh.com, there are links to all that stuff, because I want you to find me. And I want to come to your town and talk. I want to give a workshop with you. So please get in touch. Please email me, and I would love to pack my suitcase for you.
Perfect.
And come visit.
Perfect. And Joan is very responsive, no pun intended. Or maybe, I don't know.
Let me charge up that toy.
So if you shoot her an email, she's going to respond very quickly. She is on the road. She's in high demand, but she will tweet back, Facebook back, email back. And let's continue the conversation, especially down in the comments below. Let's talk to Joan, and let's share and get the message out there. Let's talk about sex. Joan, thank you so much for your time today.
It was totally my pleasure.
All right, you guys. See you next week. Bye-bye.